several times.
All right, Derek, say that again.
I never do women. I only do men.
Good. That's going to be our opening
That's a wrap.
line. Appreciate
And
it.
we're done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
All right. That is our top 10 for the year. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right.
Who is your daddy?
I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
All right. We are here with the Nerds Gone Platinum crew. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nerds Gone Platinum. So we're going to talk all about Sony. Of course, our buddy Daniel Freitas is still here rocking his Santa Claus hat.
Yeah, we're so excited about that.
Hopefully that's not the only thing he's wearing.
Happy holidays. You can't say Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry
Say Merry
Christmas, Daniel.
Merry Christmas.
That's racist.
We also have Moose Kluel from Nerds Gone Platinum. What's up, Moose?
Not much, man. Just
What are we-
hanging out.
What are we drinking?
I'm drinking Tropical Kush. It's a IPA flavored with some tropical fruits.
And Derek, you said you were drinking Tropical Tush, right? Is that?
That's definitely it. Yeah.
I thought you said
I'm drinking hard tea.
hard tea.
He's in Florida.
So
Yeah.
that is either, as Jeff's son pointed out earlier, that's either a really big solo cup or Derek is really small. Can
That's
you hold
what
that
she
cup
said.
up again? Can you hold that cup
lost
up again?
weight,
Let's
hasn't
see
he?
that cup. Show us that cup one more time. Just imagine this is a normal sized solo cup.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's bigger than his head.
What a small man.
That's why he can't read. His head is small.
It's we got pocket sized Derek with us tonight, as usual,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I'm so happy to be here. I wouldn't rather be doing anything else but this stupid ass show.
I can tell. I appreciate it. We also have Jeff Glasson from the Nerds Gone Platinum podcast. What's up, Jeff?
I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much for having us on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while. I think I've only been on one other episode before.
So tell me why we have to mute every once in a while. You have a very interesting background happening tonight.
Yes, we have another gamer in his house over here, and he's quite vocal.
He has many thoughts.
Yeah.
And then we, of course, have Jason Marshall, our fellow father, who, by the way, last time we chatted, which was a little while back, I'm pretty sure it was last time, your daughter was coloring the audio most of the time, which was really adorable, actually.
Yep. And she'll have a sister to join her in April.
Aw.
Nice.
But I'm really only here to babysit your other two guests.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Keep them in line, please. I'll do my best with. So Jason and I are the adults here. We're gonna do our best
Okay.
with each of our two sidekicks. We'll see how it goes. All right, guys. Before we get into talking about Sony and their exclusives this year, it was kind of an interesting year for Sony, which I think was kind of front-loaded. I don't know that the second half of the year was quite as good. But we'll talk about that. Let's talk a little bit first about most creative games. And so instead of trying to rank this list, that could get a little tedious and boring for the listeners. Instead, I'll just let you guys each tell me one or two games that you thought come to mind when I say, what was the most creative game of the year? So let's start with some of our guests. Jason, I introduced you last. Why don't you give us the first game or two that comes to mind for you, most creative?
Yoku's Island Express.
This is the side-scroller pinball platformer combo, right?
Right. It's pinball as a platformer.
All right, so tell us about this one. Why is it most creative?
It's just it's on paper, it's just a weird concept. Like you hear pinball and you're like, okay, it's stationary, but you're actually moving through different stages, using different parts of the level to continue. It's almost like a Metroidvania, where it doesn't really tell you where to go. You kind of have to explore. Tim's talking off screen.
Sorry, my son came in. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. All right. So all I can say about Yoku's Island Express was that it's charming. I tried the demo. It was fun, but I don't know. I don't know what it was. I was like, it just didn't convince me to buy it. But you're saying it's worth the purchase, if I'm hearing you correctly.
About a 10-hour game.
Okay. It does combine pinball and platforming in an interesting way. So I'll give him that. So that's a good call for most creative. Jeff, what about you? What comes to mind for most creative?
I want to say Moonlighter. It's I guess it's for me at least. It was just the combination of the dungeon crawling, the loot gathering, but then the extra element, the gameplay element of kind of setting up your own shop and like selling the loot that you gathered in there. I thought that was pretty cool twist on the kind of I guess Harvest Moon style game that really kind of drew me into like playing that quite a bit.
Okay, is that just PC only? I don't think I've seen that one.
No, it's
on everything.
It's on everything now. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely check it out, Tim. I think you'd love it,
Oh, yeah.
especially on your Switch.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, does it have elements of like a Stardew Valley too? Is that
Yes.
what you're talking about?
Yep.
Really?
Similar. It's not, there's no farming or anything like that, but it's got it's the kind of randomized dungeon type element to it. And
But you're running an actual shop, right?
Yeah.
That's what the difference is. Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds like a great game.
While you're running the shop, it's like you got to worry about whether you're setting the prices of the items too high or too low. Like if you set them too low, you make your customers really happy, but you don't make as much money. Set it too high, people may not buy the items. Once you find that nice price point for each type of thing, then they sell pretty well. And then you have there's actually like bandits that come in and try to steal stuff off the shelves and shoplift, and you have to catch them before they run out the door with your stuff. And
that's kind of cool. I have not looked into that one whatsoever, so that's interesting. All right, cool.
Definitely check it out.
Good pick, Moose. What about you? What comes to mind for most creative game this year?
I'm gonna have to go with Iconoclast, 2D side scroller. A little bit of you got some melee weapon, you got a ranged weapon with a gun, and then there's some puzzle solving.
Yep.
And then the bosses are kind of, I don't want to say Souls-like, but they're definitely a little bit tougher than your typical 2D side scroller. But it's a lot of fun, and the game's beautiful. So we're talking about creative, like just the visuals of it are awesome too. Like what the artists have done with that game.
It's got a little bit of a
really
Metroidvania vibe too, right? There's certain areas that you can see, but you can't get to yet.
Yeah.
But maybe you see like, hey, there's this weird line right here. I wonder if later I'll be able to attach something. And yep, sure enough, eventually you get your little wrench electrified and you can start sliding along some of those.
Yeah.
Wires.
What's nice, I think it's on PS4, Vita, and Switch. Currently, I don't know about Xbox. And it's probably on Steam. So you can check it out pretty much anywhere. And it's
probably
it's usually,
Vita or Switch would be my recommended places to give that one a whirl. I like Iconoclast a lot too. It actually has kind of some interesting. I don't know if I want to call it like a good story, but I thought some of the story moments were kind of interesting too. I haven't finished it, but I got really far into it, and I thought it was a pretty interesting story too. So that's pretty creative as well.
Yeah,
and it's free. It's free on PlayStation right now.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It's PS Plus.
It's PS Plus for December, so you can pick it up and you get it on both. So if you have a Vita, you'll get it on Vita and PS4.
Yep, and those of you listening, you're hearing this before December's over, so go get it. It's free right now if you've got PS Plus, which you probably do.
And
all right, cool. Let's. I think that's the only opinions we need to hear. I think we're good.
Yep, we're good.
Wow. Okay.
Whoa! I like Daniel.
Derek,
you can mute. I don't even know why he's here.
I don't know why I'm here.
Too many shows with Daniel, so I've grown to.
Well, Tim, it's your own fault. You invited 17 people.
I know,
and then you got this a-hole down here who doesn't even play games anymore. Pointing at Derek.
But he is tiny and doing his best with normal size cups.
Yes.
All right. So cool, Daniel, why don't you tell us what game comes across to you as most creative this year?
Well, it's a trick question, Tim. All games are creative.
Oh my god!
Really?
And this is why I hate him.
No, to be honest, on the
agree with Derek, but I agree with Derek.
On the survey that you threw out, when I saw creative, I was like, I don't actually know what he's trying to ask. So, but I mean, I don't know I know a couple of you have Grease. It's spelled Gris, but I think it's pronounced Grease.
I think it is too.
I know what you're talking
about.
It's nothing complex about it. The puzzles are pretty straightforward, but it's like one of the prettiest games I think I've ever played. Yeah. And the music is also beautiful. So
that's
I actually
the one
got
that's
the soundtrack
on Switch and PC.
Yes.
Yeah. I bought the soundtrack actually because I enjoy the music.
Dude,
that
the
much.
music is so good.
It is. It really is, and it like
So
hits
it
at
looks
certain
like a real
moments.
stylized. I want to say anime, but not really. But you know what I'm saying? Like real stylized,
Very
animated.
hand-drawn. It's all
Oh,
hand
man,
drawn.
it's so cool looking.
So is all it is puzzles and talking?
There's some side
There's no
scrolling
talking.
elements.
I think she actually loses her voice in the beginning. I think that's what sort of happens in the beginning, and then all
she's singing, right? And then she has like a Little Mermaid moment.
And all the colors fade from the world. So as you're progressing, you're doing puzzles. You're kind of reinvigorating the world with the colors again. And I'm assuming at the end she'll probably get her voice back. But it's just the visuals are breathtaking. So
yeah, the
This
good news
looks
there
like
is
a game I would hate, to be honest with you.
the good news there is that Derek, there's not a lot of dialogue or stuff to read through. You just
there you
go do it.
And he loves indies. Like a lot.
Love indies.
The good news, Derek, is it's a brainless game, so you might actually be able to play it.
I'll give you $5 if you tattooed the word "I love" or the phrase "I love indies" somewhere on your body. I'll give you $5.
I'll chip in.
Is that one of your 3x5 cards?
Yes.
All right, is it my turn?
It is.
I've thought this one through a lot. I'm going to go with Ashen. I don't know. I mean, gameplay wise, it's very much Dark Souls. I would say though, one of the things I do like is Dark Souls isn't really mission based. Like you're just kind of exploring the world, going from boss to boss.
That's true.
With Ashen, I do like that there's several characters in the world that you meet that it's all mission based, and you're building up. I don't know what it's called. Maybe Tim knows. Like you actually build up like a meter every time you do a mission for a sidekick. So, anyways, you level up by completing these missions. So Ashen, while it's structured like Dark Souls, it also still mixes in other RPG games in the way it does its missions. The art style is phenomenal. I'm not a fan of not having a face. I think that's stupid, but it doesn't kill the game because you're looking at the booty most of the time anyway, so you're not looking at the character's face. But I also would say the soundtrack is pretty cool.
It is. Yeah.
And I just want to throw in there, because we're not going to have time to talk about it, I did play a little bit of Blow tonight, and it is trash. Like, I like the soundtrack, but what a dumbass game. Like,
how many did you blow?
Was that a game you were playing with Sasan? Or?
Absolutely. I was going below the entire time.
All right, next card.
These jokes are lame. But anyways, so Ashen would be my pick. I think it's a very creative game.
Cool. Yeah. I like that pick too. I actually think for a game that could have just reskinned all the same enemies over and over again, I thought there was a pretty good variety of enemies too. From what I fought, even like the lower level enemies, there's a decent variety of those guys.
Honestly, I can say for the first
really
time in a while, and I know this is, I'm saying this in front of a bunch of PlayStation guys that most of them, like Moose, hate Xbox. But this is the first quality Xbox game like I've played in a while. Like, of course, I like Gears 4 and stuff like that, but this is like a surprise. Like, Gears is coming, Halo's coming, all that. This is a game that a new IP that is exclusive to their console that I've been like, wow, you're actually good. Like, Below, I would love to say it's good. It's not. Sea of Thieves, you listen to any of our shows, I hate Sea of Thieves. I hate most of Microsoft's exclusives now. I think they're trash, but this is a good one.
Yeah, this is a really good one. All right, no, those are good picks. There's a few that I wanted to throw out there and just see what you guys think. I think it's fair to say that A Way Out had some creative moments in it. The way you do some multiplayer co-op.
The way you and I kept going in and out of the closet, that was really creative.
Wasn't that great? Yeah, it was like, I'm gonna come. Oh, not quite out yet.
I wouldn't say it's creative, but we saw it coming. So.
It's funny because we kept I think we were confused on one part, and like he would go in the closet and come out, and then I'd go in the closet. I'm like, what are we doing?
It's a part where you're in a house, and we were trying. You could like go change your clothes or something, and we kept going in and out of the closet, and I was like, we are legitimately.
Oh, this is literal. Okay,
we are coming.
We were actually doing that.
Okay.
Well, and there's a couple of really cool moments in there, especially during some jailbreak type moments. But there's other moments that are really, I see what they're trying to do to get you to work together so you can catch these fish so you can eat, but it's a really dumb mechanic where you have to like one of you's walking and splashing, and the other one's like got a spear ready to hit. It was just some of it was dumb, but I thought there were some creative moments. I think go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm not trying to cut you off, but I actually think that game, now that I think about it, is probably one of the most creative games out. I mean,
I think it is. Yeah,
because of the way it makes you play co-op, but it does it in a different way than what we're used to for most co-op games.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like some of those parts, like when you're trying to distract the guard, one of you goes to pick a fight and the other one has to time it right to go sneak back in the back room and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought they did a pretty good job of creating a co-op experience that's different than other experiences. I thought that Owlboy, even though technically that's a 2016 game on PC, but it's new to consoles this year, so just to at least give it a shout out. Very creative game. As you pick up companions in that game to accompany you on your quests, Owlboy actually picks them up with his talons and carries them around, and they have different abilities. Maybe it's a different kind of gun or something like that. So Owlboy was pretty creative. Celeste, of course, that's a game that Derek loves to gush over. He just can't get enough of Celeste.
Well, apparently I get to try it, so I can't wait.
Because it's free on Xbox. Games with Gold next month.
Next month.
Next month.
January, yeah.
January.
Yeah, great game. So good.
Hollow Knight.
Celeste is truly creative. Yes, Hollow Knight was creative, although
Hollow Knight, yes.
I do feel like that game had a little too much backtracking and such, but overall very, very creative game. Detroit Become Human. Someone mentioned that earlier. I think it was Jeff's son actually was talking about Detroit.
Yeah, one of the actors.
Yeah, the voice actor. He thought the voice actor should
The voice actor, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Detroit, I thought, was fairly creative in some of the things that it did with the decisions you had to make.
Tim, you can only pick one game. Why do you keep going?
I'm just giving some shout outs. Derek,
just pick one game.
All right.
And actually plays games. So,
but you don't understand, guys. If you don't stop Tim, he'll just keep going.
Why do you have to put him in the corner?
The next game I want to shout out over.
But you know what? I will say this.
It's not a baby, he's an adult.
I will say this. The more people that join Derek and I in these conversations, it's like he's like exponentially meaner to me, So
sure.
Is it multiplied by like?
I always have to apologize.
If it's just me and him, he's like, tell me more, Tim. Tell me more about these games. But since it's you guys here, he's like, I hate you.
Well, it's because he has a crush on you. He's trying to be mean to you in front of everyone. He has a crush
this is like a video game, and I want to skip the cutscene. Can we move on?
Too much talking.
Too much talking. Wait, and yes, every time we do an episode with other people, I text him the next day. I'm sorry if I was really mean. Tim responds back, "It's okay, buddy. It's okay."
So you apologize when people aren't around.
That's what I'm telling you, man.
Of course I do.
It's a classic abusive relationship. Yeah. Okay, guys.
I don't like to upset my little Timmy boy.
That's cute.
No, you do. You just don't make it appear like you've upset. You just do something like passive aggressively.
All right, last one that I'll mention is Into the Breach. If you guys haven't played this game, go play it.
If he talks about this fucking game again.
So good.
Jesus.
So good. It's so good.
Daniel, even you are sick of hearing Into the Breach.
I mean,
admit it.
Listen, you've already sworn twice. I get like 5 of these, so.
So Into the Breach has a really creative way of doing tactical strategy. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to go back to what I said originally, A Way Out. Super creative. I got to give that one my pick for most creative game of the year. Also, it has one of the funnier was it creators or directors? I think it's hilarious that Jeff Keighley keeps putting him on the Game Awards.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
You never know.
Was he funny this past year? I didn't see him.
He's a loose cannon.
Did he do anything stupid, though?
No, not really. They just referenced the fact that he is crazy. That's pretty much it.
Well, that's good. I was kind of like, that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to watch it, because I was like, oh, this is going to be a try hard. Like, let's duplicate what I already did.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad.
Good.
I'm definitely interested in A Way Out. I actually was telling Jason Moose on a previous episode of Nerds Gone Platinum that I recently went to my local library and discovered they have a huge selection of video games to choose from, and A Way Out is one of those. So I think I might actually just go check it out from the library since it's such a short game and give it a shot with.
Now that you mention it, now obviously you can probably get it free from the library, but if anybody actually wants to buy it and own it, I think GameFly has it for like $8 on their like sell. And if you've never bought from GameFly, it's brand new. I know it says used, but it's like the case, everything's brand new. Everything's in mint condition. So.
Yeah, and I think they probably cleaned the disc too before.
Yeah, they clean everything.
Cool.
Everything's really nice, and it's like I think A Way Out was $8, and I was like, man, I wouldn't mind owning that game. I might just buy it.
Do you actually need a GameFly membership in order to buy the games outright or not? Or
No, and when they do these like blowout sales, everything's free shipping. But if you weren't a member and you try to buy a game when it's not like a blowout sale or something like that, they'll charge you for shipping. But in this situation, you should be able to buy it and just pay the $8 or $8 or $9 plus tax.
So if you're a member, you get the free shipping all the time.
All the time. You just hit the keep it button, you keep it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool.
Nice. All right. Well, that at least gets us thinking a little bit about games from this year. It's time to really jump into Sony exclusives. Now, if it came out on PC as well, that's okay for our purposes here. So, for example, something like Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom is potentially a game that could be on this list. It's also on PC. Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age, PS4 console exclusive, also eligible for this list as well. Does that make sense?
Yep.
PC is all right.
I imagine Yakuza 6 will eventually make its way to PC, just
Probably.
like Zero did.
Probably so. All right, well, let's start this time with Santa Claus. We're just going to take turns each picking one game. I guess if you have two that you want to add, no, let's just do one. That way everyone gets a chance to nominate one. We want to get down to a top 5. So just pick one that you would say this has to be considered on the list. So Daniel, you first. What do you got? What's a game, a Sony exclusive that has to be considered?
Well, it obviously has to be God of War. So
okay.
It had the most, like I said on the previous episode, it had the most to prove because of its track record, and the most to improve because clearly a lot of people either hate Kratos or like Kratos just because he was so one-dimensional and they were just kind of into that. But people who like substance wanted more from Kratos, and I think that they delivered, obviously. So,
okay,
I think it was a very important game, certainly.
Jeff, what about you? What would you say is one that has to be included?
The first one on my list was God of War because it was my number one pick for the year. But I would say probably Spider-Man is my number 2 pick.
Okay.
I definitely love that game a lot. I've been playing through all the DLCs as well. I'm excited to start the final DLC tomorrow. I guess it is. It comes out.
The third one.
Yep.
Third and last.
Final. Yeah, it comes out tomorrow.
And just obviously with no spoilers here, the way that it ended just totally, points to what they might potentially do for the second game as well. I just thought they did a great job of integrating all the Spider-Man lore, a lot of things that if you didn't necessarily read the comic books, you might not pick up on right away. So it was kind of a nod to those folks who really are into Spider-Man, that they did their research, they put that stuff into the game for the fans. It's all the way around nice polished product. So definitely give a nod to that one.
Cool. Agree with that. Moose, what about you?
My top Sony exclusive would be Spider-Man.
What's one of the ones that hasn't been mentioned yet that we got to include on this list?
Gotta include on the list.
You have to spell things out for him sometimes.
What's that?
Damn.
You got a problem, Jason?
Jason with the low key.
I'm gonna have to go with MLB The Show.
Okay.
Because they year after year they just put out a tremendous sports game, and it is awesome. I think 2016 was the first MLB The Show. It was the first baseball game I bought since a Genesis game, and it's a tremendous amount of fun. Having fun with the seasons, just going in and picking your team and playing with having a good time, trying to take your team to the what is it, the World Series? Yeah. Shows how much I watch baseball.
The World Cup, right? Is it the World Cup?
The World Cup. So, anyways, yeah, I'd have to say MLB The Show.
And by MLB The Show, he means Bloodborne.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Good clarification. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Jason, what of the rest of Sony games would you say should be considered to be on this list?
I think Shadow of the Colossus. I was pleasantly surprised. Never played the original or the remake, and then and obviously this was the first one, the remaster remake. I thought it was an excellent game. Visually, simple gameplay, such a simple concept, but it was so much fun to play.
Well, it's one of my favorites of all time. I'll put a little asterisk beside it simply because it's a remaster or a remake, I suppose.
Well, this is a remake. The one that was on PS3 was a remaster.
This is more of a remake.
Yeah, this is a straight up Blue Point built it from the ground up.
Yeah.
So, and I can't wait to see what their next game's going to be.
Okay.
They said it's even more work than what they
We
did
will
for
all be dead before it comes out.
Yeah, it's true.
Probably not.
It's true. All right, cool. I'm at least gonna have that one as like a honorable mention as a remake. I'm not sure if we can fairly rank it, because if we're gonna rank that one, then all of a sudden I've got a new number one because I love that game. All right. Let's jump over to Derek. What would you say has to be on this list?
Dragon Quest.
Thank you.
11.
Yeah.
Good old, an RPG.
I am so interested in that game. I've never played a Dragon Quest game ever, and I'm so interested in that game, especially because, I mean, it's funny, before the show, I was like, when we were talking about some of the games we might be talking about, I was like, oh, I've only played 2 of those games on this list that you guys are sharing, and it's because I spent most of the year with Moose and Jason playing backlog games for our 2018 challenge, and part of my challenge was that I selected 4 different JRPGs, and I am not JRPG person. I'm super new to them, and I came out the other end after playing like Final Fantasy VII and Ni no Kuni and I Am Setsuna and all these really awesome JRPGs, and I'm like, ooh, what can I play next? And I'm like, Quest 11 looks amazing, and the graphics are awesome, and it's just, I mean, it looks
Dragon Quest 11 super cozy. I think cozy is a good word to describe that game.
What do you mean by that?
It's just a chill experience, man.
Yeah,
it's just super chill.
It's good comfort food, possibly. Yeah. If you like RPGs, it's not something that you have to like think like Derek could play it, a baby can play it, but you could also have a brain and enjoy it.
And there's a lot of reading, so but
I mean, I don't know how he's gonna play it.
Well, I'm actually pretty excited because Derek just got this one digitally, which means I can finally play it, and I'm actually pretty excited to give it a shot because, and one of the things that is impossible to ignore about this game is the visuals look pretty amazing on this game.
Yeah, it's a good looking game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan, personal opinion, of some of the art style for some of the monsters. I think they look a little bit silly, kind of like the Pokemon that didn't make the cut. That being said, I still appreciate how overall sharp the game looks. It looks really impressive. From
Dragon Quest came before Pokemon, so technically it'd be the other way around, sir.
Okay.
All
right. It's good to know.
Guess who has 2 thumbs and doesn't give a shit?
This guy. Okay, there he is. All right, I'm going to put Detroit Become Human on the list. I'm a little sad that no one else picked that one yet, but I guess you were leaving that for me. So that needs to be on there too. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, I shared this spreadsheet screen. That way you guys can keep track of what I currently have as our Sony exclusive list, and then what things we've moved over to be part of the ranking. Stuff that we have not talked about yet is Dissidia, Final Fantasy NT, DJ Max Respect, Moss, which I think Moss was a really well-regarded PSVR game.
Yeah.
We have not moved Ni no Kuni 2 over. I feel like we should at least put it on the list for starters, even if we
should put Ni no Kuni 2 in the garbage where it belongs.
Whoa! Cutting to the bone.
Really? Because I figured you're the one who would say
he's the RPG fan, isn't he?
Yeah, so my opinion is more valid than anyone else.
I'm not going to move it over if you're saying
I didn't love it so far, but I've only put a couple hours in.
Dang!
I beat the first Ni no Kuni and I enjoyed it. This one I'm like, no.
The main issue that I had with it was one, like, the game is predominantly not voice acted, which is ridiculous in 2018. Like most RPGs are high.
Like, what is this, Nintendo? Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. You know. And the first game was so good with sort of the Pokemon like mechanics, and they didn't do that for the second one at all.
It's a completely different game. It's an action RPG, whereas the first one was turn based, and then they got rid of, like you said, the little Pokemon type things, and now it's stupid.
That's too bad.
But I might like it later. I'm going to try to play it more.
I know that The Impatient got horrible reviews. I'm going to assume that The Impatient doesn't make it. But what about Tetris Effect? Any of you PSVR gamers say that one deserves to be? Because I know that one is pretty well regarded.
So I've played it, but without PSVR.
Oh, okay.
And Tetris Effect it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. It's got some good modes to it. I haven't. I've been looking for. I think someone wrote an article about it. It might have been GameSpot or Kotaku wrote something about them having like an old school Game Boy version level, like a 1989 version, and I haven't gotten to it yet. But
I've heard the music's
cool.
super awesome.
Yeah, and the music is cool. From what I hear from Matt, it's chill. Like you're just in the room playing with it. Like you can turn around and like see stuff. It's not like flying at you and whatnot. It's just you're just immersed in the game more so than what you would be just sitting at your TV.
Okay.
What about Yakuza 6? Did anybody play that?
No.
I bet you if we played it, we would be putting.
Yeah, it would definitely probably be on the list because
I mean, I feel like it at least has to be moved over there. But the hard part is making.
Nobody's going to be able to vouch for it, though.
Yeah.
Even though I know I've played a few Yakuza games and I know they're quality and they're good.
Yeah.
I do want to give a
shout
out to one of our listeners and regular active group members, Thomas James Jaretis. He writes a lot of reviews, and this is one that I know he played and really, really liked. Yeah. And so I know there's those out there who'd probably say that's one of the best PS4.
The Yakuza series is very popular. So
yeah, and I played Yakuza Kiwami as part of my backlog challenge this year, and I have Yakuza 0 that I picked up still in the shrink wrap. So it's like I'm dying to get through all of them. I obviously want to get to 6, but I'm kind of banking on the news that they said that they're probably going to continue to release
all of them over.
All of them, yeah. So I'm like, and they are, to be fair to the games. I mean, I as I told the guys during the time that I was playing it this year, the story is just so amazing. I was blown away by the depth and just the plot twists and everything of that story. And obviously all the extra things like the little mini games and things are just icing on the cake for that game. And I am not a fighting game person. I mean, this style fighting is palatable to me. I'm not like a Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter type game person at all, because I just don't want to spend the time to memorize the button combinations and all that stuff. This you could kind of get away with a little bit. I mean, there's obviously a lot of different, moves that you can learn across the 3 or 4 different martial arts styles that you can level up as your character, but way more accessible for someone who's not into fighting games. So, you can button mash it to some degree, but yeah, I'm excited. And just the fact that they're continuing to invest in the franchise and bringing it to the West is awesome. So
yeah, that is really cool. And I keep hearing that and I can't remember his name right now, the lead character, the main hero of the series. I've heard that this is a great, and I've heard the same thing about Geralt with Witcher 3, with the Blood and Wine expansion. It's a great way to kind of wrap up his story. That's just what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. Again, this is all secondhand stuff, but
that's why I want to get through these games, and I do want to play it.
I'm surprised that you play them. There's a lot of reading involved because it's all in Japanese and it's all subtitles. Hey, so, I don't know. How do you handle that? You just not care about the story.
Do you want to know the secret? Do you want to know the secret?
You know Japanese?
Well, yes. I date a lot of Japanese women, but I beat games, and then I YouTube like a 5-minute summary of the game. Like, hey, what did I just beat? And then they tell me the story.
I'm playing through this. What did I just do?
Please explain the ending.
Then why play the game? Why don't you just watch the 5-minute video and save some money?
Just the menu.
He's telling you my secrets.
He's too busy getting those $20 bills from the sailors.
He's a baller. He's a baller.
You guys are mean to me.
So we will. You know what? I'm actually going to I'm at least going to move it over just for the sake of acknowledging we know this is a quality game. It's just sadly and embarrassingly, none of us have even played it a little bit to really speak too much about it. But the way Jeff is describing his experience with Yakuza Kiwami kind of makes me curious to.
Oh, I guarantee you 6 is better than Kiwami.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
I would guess it's definitely.
I think they said they're porting the rest of them using the engine they used for 6. I could have swore.
Hopefully.
If not, maybe they'll just use the engine they did for the remakes.
Moose, did you play Moss?
No, I don't have PlayStation VR. But I've heard it's really, really good. Rudy was on our show this week for our game of the year, and he was saying I believe that was one of the ones he was saying was really good. You got to
Yeah,
try
yeah.
that a little bit, and he was having fun with it.
That in the Astrobot one, right?
Yeah, I hear the Astrobot's really good. Those games are really pushing me to get a VR.
VR prices are dropping too.
Yes. My only problem is it's like, where am I going to put it? Not when I'm using it, like when I'm not using it. It's like, where am I going to put it? So that's my only problem. But I have a vast majority of the games that I own that are on Sony. Like a lot of them have PSVR like stuff, like Wipeout does. Of course,
Well, their VR games are like super cheap. Like I was shopping the sale just yesterday, and I'm forgetting the name, but there's a first-person shooter that's a VR game that actually Farpoint. It's $8. I'm like, man, this is kind of tempting for me to hook my VR back up and try this game because I always wanted to play this one, and it's $8. So there's a lot of VR games that are anywhere from $5 to $10 that were $40 to $60 games. Like
we just had a staff Christmas party, and one of my coworkers brought in a Oculus, and
that's nice.
And he was just showing, kind of like letting people try it out. And my kids got to try it out too. And they were just blown away. And they're just begging me to get some kind of VR thing. So
PSVR, man.
I'm kind of tempted as well, especially if the games are real cheap now. So
Beat Saber too. Beat Saber looks cool.
Beat Saber looks awesome.
Yeah. Tim, I have one for sale if you're interested.
Well, you know my address, so send it on over.
Yeah,
we actually live in the same house, guys. He can just hand it to me as soon as he's ready. But
6969 Rainbow Lane. I'll send it over.
That's the one. Nailed it.
Oh yes, I did.
Okay, all right.
That was so gay.
All right. So we're giving at least honorable mentions for those of you listening who are screaming right now that we are not giving more love to Moss, Tetris Effect, Yakuza 6. And even Shadow of the Colossus. I've got those kind of underneath the list we're about to rank as honorable mentions that, hey, these are certainly worth being acknowledged this year as really high quality PlayStation experiences, but either we haven't played enough of them to really rank them, or with Shadow of the Colossus, I'm ruling that one out just because it is a remake of a game that came out a long time ago, and I couldn't even begin to think about how I'd not rank this one first. So I'm leaving that one off the official list here.
Okay.
All right, so let's look at these other 5. Detroit, Dragon Quest XI, God of War, Spider-Man, and MLB The Show. And
so why don't we try to make this more interesting and more difficult? And since we only have really 5 games, why don't we do just the top 3?
We could do that.
Okay.
I could already tell you which one I don't think needs to be on there, and that's MLB The Show.
Yeah, of course.
Here's the reason I would say that. Not because I don't think it's good. I actually have 2 friends from work who this is the only video game that they play. Like they're not gamers really, but they own PS4s, and every year they buy MLB The Show. They just love it. It's their favorite thing. They're huge baseball fans. They said it's everything they want out of a baseball game. I don't doubt that, but there's something about a annual release of a sports game, and I know it's probably
for me.
Yeah, it's just probably unfair, but it's hard for me to put that up against some of these other ones we're talking about. So,
well, I think Chuck Carroll in the group also. It's like one of the only reasons he has a PS4. And it's weird to me because it's not like Madden where EA's locked up, the likeness of the player league, whatever, the player association. Like anybody can make a baseball game.
Oh, I thought they did lock up the license.
They did lock it up.
Oh, did they?
I thought
that's why EA doesn't make. They used to have an MLB game and they can't do it now.
Oh, well then I stand corrected. My bad.
I think they they locked it up like a few years ago.
Okay.
Just crazy to me. I kind of wish that those things were more open because I miss back when things like 2K and Madden would every year kind of go at it and have to improve their games dramatically. But I digress.
Yeah, now Madden can just like limp along and steal everybody's money and do
but that's the NFL's fault. Like
that is the NFL's fault.
I don't want to get into bashing the NFL, and plus most of you probably don't even care. But the NFL is just, to me, it's ran terribly. It's why I don't even watch the games anymore, because they're so old school. Like I live in Florida, and the only games I can really see are Tampa, Miami, and Jacksonville. I can't even see all the rest, whereas college football, I can watch any game I want. And I'm like, you're so stupid. The NFL is so dumb.
They are. I agree
I
with
mean,
that.
just look at
agree.
MLB The Show. The games are quality, and then Madden isn't. So clearly,
Yeah.
there's something wrong there. You know?
Yeah, like usually MLB gets like a 9, 9.5, and
Yeah.
like Madden. I mean, not that an 8 is bad, but like Madden's usually like a 7 and between a 7 and an 8. And
It
that's still a
fluctuates
good
more,
game.
right?
Yeah,
It fluctuates
it
more.
fluctuates a lot more than MLB does. MLB is like I know next spring if I'm like, hey, I want a baseball game, I know that they're gonna come out with like at least a 9. Like
I
MLB
I
The
still
Show's gonna
remember
be a 9.
when I think it was Madden 2004, maybe with Michael Vick on the cover. It was either 04 or 05, and they first introduced stuff like the hit stick, or when you're the quarterback dropping back for the pass and you flick the right analog stick, you can get your receiver that you're kind of looking at to all of a sudden change direction. You know, if the defensive back was going a certain way. So they were really doing some innovative stuff every year like that. But now it's a lot of Madden Ultimate Team and things like that, where there's a lot
Which
of
I
free to
don't
play,
care about.
a lot of free to play
Yeah.
hooks.
Yeah.
So
Trash.
anyway, that being said, EA, if you put it on the Switch, I'll totally buy it. Okay, let's kick MLB The Show off that list for now, though. So that
That's fine.
gets us down to 4. So we got Detroit, Dragon Age, God of War, and Spider-Man. I did hear 2 of you say, if I heard you correctly, that very easily God of War is at the top of your list. Did I hear you say that? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Spider-Man. It's my favorite superhero, but I think God of War overall is better.
It's my favorite Sony exclusive of the year.
Yeah.
So I've got it at the top of my list for this. What about you guys, Jeff, Jason, on this one?
Yeah, God of War. Spider-Man, I mean, granted, I got the platinum, so it felt more repetitive, but I haven't played the DLC yet. I have, after tonight, I'll have all 3 waiting for me. I mean, Jeff's played them, but I haven't been in a rush. Like God of War, I enjoy even the combat. I mean, yeah, it's the same thing, but there was something about like throwing your axe, sticking a guy in the wall, punching another guy in the face, ripping someone in half, and then getting your axe back. Like it felt better than Spider-Man.
To me, there's more depth in God of War's combat than Spider-Man. And I'm not saying there's not a lot to do in Spider-Man. There's a lot of things to unlock. There's a lot going on. But I felt like I'm on my second playthrough of God of War, and I'm just learning some of the stuff that I probably should have learned in my first playthrough. But you know what? I don't read. And the game is there's just so much to do. There's so much going on. And it's got a good pace. Like Spider-Man, for me, felt like it was – the combat's real quick, and they kind of just try to overwhelm you with a lot of enemies. God of War, yeah, you'll have a good amount of enemies, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels like a good pace. Like it's got a good speed to it. It reminds me of Dark Souls, that type of that. Not exactly like it, but I mean the speed of it. And so you feel the impact every time you hit it. Like Jason was saying, like. You go and you grab somebody, you rip them in half. Like it feels like you're actually ripping somebody in half. It's really, really well done.
Well, not to mention, I do think I need to make sure I acknowledge that God of War, although it's not an open world game and probably doesn't have the variety that Spider-Man does in terms of look at everywhere you can go, look at all these mission types you have. It does have more than you would normally expect from what is typically a linear experience. I mean, they've got 2 complete realms that are completely dedicated to, if you want to, keep playing. So one of them is all these challenges. That's wave upon wave of enemy, and that gets tougher and tougher with major rewards at the end. The other one is there's this poison air that is slowly depleting your health, and you have to make it as far through this as you can. And again, the rewards can be great if you can make it through alive. So anyway, I really like what they did with God of War. Not to mention all the Valkyries that you can fight and the hidden bosses that are really tough. So
I like the dialogue. Like I was mentioning to Moose and Jeff, like if Mimir told you a story and you exited the boat, instead of like ending it, you'd get back in and go, oh, so to continue my story.
Yeah.
Like the game actually picked up and like you never missed just like the lore with that. I thought that was like it's
just like Red Dead,
but it was a cool feature that they did.
Right.
Games are getting smarter.
Skip dialogue, you just skip and you never hear it.
I mean, yeah, Red Dead does that as well. I like that too. I will say this: both of these games had storylines and character moments that, despite what someone like Derek might try to tell you, they actually make you feel something, which is not super common
See, that's why God of War for me sticks out more, because so I actually disagree with what you guys were saying about the combat. I think Spider-Man actually is more fun to play because it's almost sort of more arcadey, or more fluid, kind of like you're dodging
You
things.
can disagree all you want, but your opinion's stupid.
Okay, well, F off. All right.
Well, thank you for keeping it. Thank you for keeping it clean.
Daniel,
Right, next card.
Next card.
Because Spider-Man obviously is, he has the reflexes of a spider, so he's moving around, dodging things, bouncing around, web slinging. The combat to me was more fun, but God of War is more impactful because what's going on in the story is just more emotional, and you're kind of more invested in that aspect.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't emotional things that happen in Spider-Man, even though Derek's a monster and doesn't think the ending is sad.
Oh yeah, it's just so emotional.
Apparently he hates people and everything. So,
But
I mean, like,
can read either. He's always like, "Read it, boy."
Read it, boy.
Well, that's why he feels
I
so
am
connected.
Kratos. I am Kratos.
He's an
Boy.
a-hole, just like Kratos. Yeah.
Read it.
So I
Punch
didn't
his kid in the
hear
face,
really
"Read it,
any.
boy."
I didn't hear any dissent from God of War being the best PlayStation.
It is
exclusive of
the
year.
best.
It's not,
PlayStation.
but that's all right.
It's not.
Well,
It's all good.
do you
Well,
have
why
a
is
case
it
you want to
not?
make it? Yeah, I want to hear a case.
I feel Spider-Man is better. I like the combat a lot more. I like traversing around the arena that you're fighting in a lot more. I feel you had a lot more at your
that's like
disposal
your
as
opinion.
far as like what you can do, like pull somebody up in the air, beat them up, knock them down. Like, I mean, it was kind of like the same. I felt with God of War, it's like, okay, you're using the axe, throwing at somebody and freezing them. Then you're tearing some people apart. Then you're pulling the axe towards you. Like to be honest, I never really used the Chains of Chaos because I like the axe so much more. But I feel with Spider-Man, you have so much more gadgets at your disposal, and your skill tree fills out a lot better and actually unlocks more moves for you. So that's why I feel the combat in Spider-Man is a lot better than it was in God of War.
How would you compare the boss battles, some of the major epic encounters?
Okay, so God of War wins on the boss battles. Like some of the boss battles for Spider-Man, I will agree, were kind of cheesy, except for like the final one. Although I did have a lot of fun.
I thought they were pretty
alert.
fun.
They were fun.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they weren't fun.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they were a little like quick time eventy.
Okay,
a little
fair
bit.
enough. Yeah,
I'm not like throwing them under the bus and being like you just stood there and hit buttons like you did in the Order 1886. But it was a little less like you could do your own thing. You know what I mean? Like they forced you into fighting them like a certain way. Whereas in God of War, like you could, if you wanted to, you could just brute force your way through it. So I liked the story more for Spider-Man than God of War, even though God of War's story is a tremendous story. I feel Spider-Man tucked at the heartstrings a little bit more than God of War. The ending, part of the ending, was really heart-wrenching. It's Peter Parker had to make a horrible decision, and he made the best decision that he could, and it made me cry. I was really sad at him having to make that decision.
You're making me cry right now.
And I know I am.
Oh, you actually have a soul?
No, he doesn't. It's black and void of anything. But
that's just his eyes watering up from frustration.
That's right.
My other thing is like if you also look at the ending of the games, and like you're played through the games and you're done, and you're like, where can these games go from here? I feel God of War might go down the path of the previous 3 games, and I hope it doesn't. And we discussed that on our God of War spoiler cast, where I hope it doesn't go down where he just wars his way through freaking Norse mythology and destroys everybody.
I don't think that's going to happen at all.
I don't think so either, but they could go down that route. But I think Corey Balrog is going to do a good job of mixing it up a little bit. But I feel Spider-Man is more of just like, if they don't do anything with this series anymore, like if they don't do another game, like it's fine. It's a good standalone game, but you know they're going to do something more. But I feel like the story, like it's going to be awesome. Like the ending of Spider-Man was awesome, and it leaves a lot of good things open, especially out of a lot of the chaos that happened. Where like God of War, I'm just kind of like, okay, like it's a great story, and he really bonded with his kid, but it's kind of like just, hey, we're destroying some gods like some previous games. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just felt like it left more avenues in Spider-Man, and it left a lot more story-driven stuff for the sequel.
That's a good case to be made for Spider-Man. I don't think it's by any
very
stretch
close.
a bad game. It's a really good game. I still give the edge to God of War. I think some of that's personal preference. I'm being totally serious here. I do think the fighting style of God of War versus Spider-Man are so different. It totally comes down to personal preference.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that as a fan of Bloodborne and Dark Souls, you wouldn't prefer Moose God of War, because they certainly am I way off base? I feel like they take some pages out of the playbook of those types of games for God of War.
They did, but I don't know.
It's still different, but yes.
They took some things out of the
I mean, kind of like Assassin's Creed did, where it's not exactly the same, but they certainly took some pieces from those playbooks.
I would say Assassin's Creed tries harder to replicate Dark Souls than God of War did.
Oh yeah,
but
I agree with that.
I still see the influences in God of War, but God of War still did its own thing. So
yeah. Okay,
which was nice. Like that was really awesome. You know, they were able to do that.
And I will say this, even though I love Dark Souls and I love Bloodborne, I think I've said this on the show before. When I'm playing, a story-driven game, like God of War to me is story-driven. Dark Souls, I'm not playing it for the story. I understand there's lore, there's story. I'm not playing it for that. I'm playing it to beat bosses. When I'm playing a game like God of War where I want to see the ending, I want to experience the story or whatever, through YouTube, I don't want to get stuck on like difficult boss fights and have to play them 20 times. So I do like that God of War did borrow, but they were like, we're not going to be as hard. We're going to make it kind of difficult, but we're not going to make this a Dark Souls game. You're going to be able to beat these bosses. You're going to be able to get through and not get frustrated and feel like you're stuck or anything like that. So I do like those differences as well.
Okay.
And I think also God of War and Spider-Man, I probably spent about the same amount of time, but Spider-Man I beat in a weekend. God of War, I don't know if I paced myself or that's just how the game was.
I think God of War is
Spider-Man, I got it. I loaded up Thursday night, and by Sunday, I was done with it. God of War, though, took me about 2 weeks. So maybe because of the pacing, I just appreciated it more than Spider-Man. And maybe that's because Moose actually took longer than me to beat Spider-Man. So maybe he had a better appreciation by taking longer and enjoying it more.
There is something to that, because I flew through this year's Shadow of the Tomb Raider as well and look back on it without much admiration, I guess you could say. I don't really love it, but I think that's because I played it too quickly. I didn't really stop to enjoy it. I was ready to get on to the next thing.
I do think if you're rushing through games, like for instance, I'm not saying you guys rush through them, but like for fall releases, I sometimes get caught up in like, oh my gosh, like 10 games came out that I want, so I just gotta hurry up and beat this one to move on to this one. I want to beat this one to move on to this one. And so I do think sometimes how fast you go through a game can impact how you feel about a game.
Certainly.
For example, and I said this, I think 2 shows ago, I said God of War, after I beat it the first time because I was going through the difficult season of my life, it was not even in my top 5 for this year. It wasn't. It was 7 or 8, somewhere over there. I was going to put it in my top 10, but I was like, no, I don't love this game. And it wasn't until I went back for a second playthrough and my life had settled down and I was going through it, I would say a little bit slower paced and enjoying it more, that I was like, you know what? Now I get why everybody's like, I love this game. I love this game. I'm like, I love this game now. So I do think how fast you go through it, how you feel at the moment while you're playing these games does impact it. I would say with Spider-Man, kind of the same thing. I got overwhelmed with the fall release. It came out around some other games. I know Forza Horizon 4 was out, and that was a game I was definitely playing. I was playing Destiny 2 Forsaken a lot. So I started that game, and then I left it for over a month because I was like, I'm not into it because I'm playing these other games. When I came back to it and it finally hooked me, I loved that game more, and that one moved up. So I think if I went back to play Spider-Man, I might be switching these two. But for right now, I think God of War is the game I appreciate the most. I think it's the best of the two. But I love Spider-Man.
Okay.
Except the ending. The ending was stupid.
Oh,
So
my God.
based on what
Shut up.
on what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing this correctly,
Goddamn monster.
basically it's 5-1. God of War should go first, but there's at least a couple of us that would say Spider-Man's not far behind it. Is that fair to say?
It's very close, yeah.
Spider-Man's a lock for the second spot for sure.
Right. Yeah, I feel like, and I thought this might be the case, I feel like the battle really comes down to what gets that third place spot. And again, this is going to come down to, as it always does, down to personal preference. When I play a JRPG, there's certain things that I want. I know that when I play Dragon Quest XI, it's going to kind of scratch that itch of JRPG goodness. When I play something like Detroit Become Human, I felt like, I just want to make a case for this one real quick, because I think it should be the third best game of the year for Sony. I feel like with Detroit Become Human, I was constantly kind of like pleasantly surprised. I was constantly delighted and shocked at different moments. It was really, I thought, really well done. One of the best kind of story-based adventure titles that I've played, really compared to any of them, whether it's Telltale or whoever's doing it. I felt like this is probably the best one I've played. Derek, you and I think Daniel, you were part of this conversation too. We chatted about the Detroit story and how I think we can agree that it devolves a little bit into some cliche zones by the end, but that certainly didn't ruin the experience for me. I loved all the different branching pathways. I loved how the consequences could be really heavy if you.
I thought Daniel hadn't played it. Daniel, you hadn't played it. Right?
I started it, and since Monday, I unfortunately haven't played any more of it. But I'm a couple hours into it. So.
Okay.
But he hasn't we can't spoil it for him.
Yeah, so I won't spoil too much. I won't say anything specific, but I will say this. I think when you combine the branching storylines and the way that it all ties together, regardless of what choices you make, as well as the incredible visuals, the great performances, what I thought was really high quality writing, felt like a really high quality sci-fi TV series as I was playing through it. I think it's one of the best games of the year, and it's one that I fully plan on going back and digging into a totally different version of the story, making different choices. Again, I thought Detroit Become Human was one of my favorite surprises of the year and the third best Sony exclusive of the year.
I want to add on to this just because of last year, Tim, when you played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you ended up loving that. And I'm not saying Dragon Quest it plays like Xenoblade because it doesn't. They're actually completely different. But I do think Dragon Quest XI has that charm. Like for me, and again, I haven't played it I'm not 20 or 30 hours in, but every time I play it, I'm like, I don't know, I can't explain it. It's just a special JRPG to me. Like it's one of those that I'm like, I could see myself playing this for a while.
It's cozy, man.
Yeah, that's why I hate that you described it like that. It's
so cozy.
But I that's why I went ahead and bought it on my PS4 because funny enough, actually, I thought you were stupid for saying that, but it's true. I bought it on the PS4 because I can get cozy on the couch.
Yep,
and it's easier to play on the PS4 than it is over here on my PC because this is hurting my back right now. But anyways, I think if you played Dragon Quest, I'm not saying you would switch it, but I think you would have a little bit more difficult time saying, well, fair. Detroit's better. That being said, I'm going to put Detroit above Dragon Quest, but only because I haven't played Dragon Quest enough. Yeah. I beat Detroit.
It's tricky because they're two completely different games. You have one hyper realistic 15-ish hour game versus like a cell shaded Toriyama style 60 plus hour game.
So basically couldn't be any more different from each other, right?
Yeah. So it's a little tricky, but I guess again it does come down to preference.
But Daniel, I know that you've played a little bit of Detroit and a lot of Dragon Quest, so I'm guessing that even based on what you've played of Detroit, I mean, Dragon Quest has got to be your third pick for this, right?
I don't know. I'm trying to honestly. This whole time I've been trying to think, and I keep bouncing back and forth.
All right, move on to somebody that can talk.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Unfortunately, the Nerds Gone Platinum guys didn't play those two games.
No.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a problem.
The thing is, because I know Jeff said he wanted to try Dragon Quest, and I definitely would recommend doing so because it's kind of like it's just like Final Fantasy where there's like a huge history, but you don't have to play the previous ones to enjoy any of the later ones or middle or whatever. But and like I said, it's a cozy game and everything, but it is very, very long. So that's something that you kind of just have to be in the mindset, the right mindset for.
Yeah, so Daniel, you're the deciding vote. Not really. I already picked Detroit.
So here's where I come into a problem even voting for that versus even Detroit, because again, as part of the game challenge this year with the guys, I actually played for the first time Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain.
Okay.
In that order. And so I talked about it on previous episodes of our show that, I saw the progression of how they iterated on some of the technology that they started with Beyond Two Souls, and they brought it into Heavy Rain, and they made it better. And so, like, I'm super excited to jump into Detroit because I know it's going to be even better, right? So it's like it's just obviously seeing all the footage and things like that compound on top of that, and so it's like I haven't played either that or the Dragon Quest. And but I'm excited for both of them, and I just think that obviously completely different experiences too, but it would be really hard for me to decide between the two. Obviously,
I do want to throw this out there too. I'm actually in a place where right now, I'm based on hearing you guys talk Spider-Man, you're getting me more and more excited about Spider-Man, and so right now I've got Spider-Man just over Detroit. But a lot of times I would think of Detroit as my second favorite PS4 exclusive. Like, to me, it was that good. I think the storytelling was probably the best video game storytelling that I can think of. I mean, there might be other ones that are on par with it, but it's right up there with the best of video game storytelling. I think it's truly remarkable what they've done. And I don't know, there's something about what they did with Detroit that I think is pretty special. So
I'm going to throw my 2 cents in because I played the demo of Detroit Become Human, and I played through it multiple times. And as Jeff said, part of the challenge last year, I played Beyond Two Souls, and I haven't played Heavy Rain yet. So going from Beyond Two Souls to Detroit Becomes Human, you can see how they cleaned up their choices. They cleaned up, in my opinion, it's not necessarily a walking simulator. Like for the demo, yes, but I'm not sure about like the rest of the game. Does it play like, if it plays like Beyond Two Souls where you have some action a little bit or whatnot? But I feel like the interaction with the items in the game was better. Your dialogue options were better. Like their writing was a lot tighter than even, Beyond Two Souls. And this is just the demo I'm talking about. And so I thought it was really cool. I played through it like 3 times to go different routes to try and get like different endings,
right?
To the game, and it's pretty cool how like the game throws up your statistics and says, this is how you did
what
it.
The rest of the players did too, right?
Yeah, what the rest of the players that are online did it, and so I feel that is pretty awesome, and I feel they're hitting their stride with their type of games.
And they have these scenes, and again, without getting too specific because I don't want to spoil anything. But they have moments where you have a limited amount of time. You don't see a timer. You just know I only got a limited amount of time to investigate, try to see as many clues as I can. And then the dialogue begins, and you can only choose dialogue for stuff that you've actually discovered. So if you haven't discovered a clue or a detail in the environment, you can't bring that up in the conversation. They're not going to spoon feed that to you. That part of it is locked until you replay the chapter if you want to. And then you have to try to unlock that clue, which then unlocks a certain dialogue option, things like that. So I thought it was just really smartly done. My experience with it was very, very smooth. And I found myself caring way more than normal about each of these characters and what the outcome was. And I think the work they did with all the character building and all the interesting dialogue moments and all the emotional connection stuff, I think that helped me overlook some of the cliche stuff that it sinks into at the end. And even then, I don't want to make people think it becomes a bad story. But Derek is right. It does go a little bit cliche sci-fi at times towards the end, but even so, I thought that the powerful character building and storytelling beforehand made that part okay.
It's still unique though, because it's a video game. I mean, it's one thing when
video
it's
game, right?
Movies, it's like, I've seen a lot of movies that do that, but this is a video game. There's not a lot that do that.
It feels like a live action miniseries that I got to participate in. It's really cool.
So
and like I said, I would put it up there because I interacted with the demo. So I have more experience with Detroit Become Human than Dragon Quest 11. So that's why I would put that as my number 3.
I think I'm gonna pick Detroit specifically because Dragon Quest you should definitely play if you're interested in it all, if you like RPGs. But the thing with Dragon Quest is like I don't remember ever disliking any part of the game, but there definitely was a good chunk in the middle of the game that the kind of like things were just kind of happening, and I wasn't like, ooh, a twist, like ooh, a surprise. There was just kind of like interesting things happening, but nothing that kind of like was like blowing me away until like the beginning of the game where it's setting everything up is interesting, and then
So no old ladies died.
oh, for God's sakes.
So Daniel, how does the difficulty ramp up in that game? Because I recall seeing someone in the Files of the Grind group who's played that recently say that she got to a point where like those, I forget what they're called, they're like the little blue Hershey Kiss looking guys.
The
Slimes.
slimes.
Yeah. Like literally she got to a point where I think it was one of the female members we have in the group said she was like getting two shot by those things. They were so powerful. Like
compared to previous Dragon Quests, it is easier. But it's not. I mean, you want to get in fights. Like you definitely don't want to just pass by like most of the enemies that you're seeing. And then there's actually metal versions of those slimes. If you see them, there's specific ways you want to fight them. And essentially they'll only take like 1 HP from each hit, but like they have like a small amount of HP. So like if you kill them, you get like a crap ton of experience. So try to really like make sure you take those guys down because that will help a lot. But yeah, it's not super hard, but it's definitely not like a cakewalk either. So
right, cool.
Jeff had some rage issues with some of the JRPGs. I've never seen someone rage quit I Am Setsuna, and he managed to
I had to take a break from that because there's a boss like halfway through that I was just like, oh my god, and I literally was like, this game shouldn't be that long. Everybody was saying it's like not that long, and I was like, oh no, I know, I just got to go back and grind, and I did. I went back and just found a place to grind, and
the like, balance. The balancing in Dragon Quest XI is definitely better than I Am Setsuna. I do remember that being a little off as far as like you progressing and kind of being, on the same level as the enemies. So it's definitely better with Dragon Quest. So.
And don't get me wrong, what I'm hearing about Dragon Quest XI is that when we wrap up recording right now, I need to finally go fire it up. Kind of in between games at the moment, you guys. I'm going to get what they call the game hole, kind of like when you finish a Netflix series. And so I feel like I need to go fire up Dragon Quest XI. It's downloaded. It's ready to go. You've got me curious enough to try it, but I still feel like the top 3 list that we have that you're looking at right there with God of War, Spider-Man, and Detroit is probably where we're landing at the moment, unless there's some last minute disagreement.
Yeah, I'll give it to Detroit, but like I said, the Dragon Quest is very good, but like because it's so much longer, there's more room for it to kind of have some lulls,
right?
And not. Again, saying that it's a bad game at any point. I enjoyed it throughout, but there are definitely like I don't remember parts of it. So
okay,
yeah.
And this list could look totally different if at the end of 2019 we were to go back and finally catch up on some of these. This list could look totally different. But from what I've experienced so far this year, God of War and Spider-Man and Detroit were, to me, they were kind of above and beyond anything else that came out.
I think even if we beat all the other games, I think these 3 would they would at least be in the top 5.
Yeah.
So they're safe bets.
I feel like if you only have enough money, if you're a budget gamer and you're going to play like 3 games on your PS4, there they are.
Yeah.
Maybe throw in a shooter. Like, be honest, I'm having a blast with Black Ops 4. So
I'm not playing Detroit.
Some kind of multi-platform.
Listen here.
Jason's not playing Detroit?
Nope.
He won't play it.
I almost broke my veto over Walking Dead. I hate.
These are completely different than the Walking Dead trash games.
This is nothing like a Telltale.
They're nothing like Telltale. Okay?
I wouldn't say
games
nothing
are broken.
like it.
They were broken.
It's better, but there's still similarities.
This game isn't broken, though.
Tim. See what I have to put up with.
I see this.
I think the real number 1 game is actually Smash Brothers.
I'm starting to see that Jason is your Derek. So
it's Smash Brothers, right?
Wow.
Honestly.
That was a low blow.
Tim, didn't you say earlier that you and Jason were?
I thought so, but what I'm hearing, I'm disappointed right now.
He's slowly. The tide is turning.
Should be Smash Brothers. Obviously.
It's okay, Jason. I'm going to buy Detroit. You can play it for 5 minutes, and then I will.
There you go.
And then proceed to say that it's trash.
The benefits of game sharing.
Yeah,
That's right. There are.
Yeah, I was gonna
Exactly.
say, Tim, you've got plenty of games now. You have Divinity Original Sin 2 that you can play as well.
Oh man,
so.
Dan Phillips got me all hyped for that game now. Doggone it.
dude, Divinity
That's like
Original Sin 2
150
is
hours.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
a great game.
Yeah, I
You're
played.
talking about 2, right? You guys played 2?
I've
No.
played 2. Yes.
I haven't. I played 1 as part of the game challenge, and I think it was like 89 hours I put into that game. It was insane, but it's so awesome. I can't wait to dive into 2 at some point. I just need a little break from that because it is a pretty intense game in terms of just the level of there's no like grinding in that game because there's just a finite amount of XP within the game. It's not like you can just level up your characters just by continually killing.
I did not
bunches
know
of-
that.
there's
That's
no-
intense.
Yeah, it's
It
literally-
is. Yeah.
And you could actually gain XP by killing every single NPC character in a town if you wanted to. You could even kill the quest givers if you wanted to.
Nice.
It's crazy. And it's super old school in that, like, when you pick up a quest, it does not tell you where to go, who to talk to, nothing. Like, you literally have to just figure out.
Oh, so it's
where
like
to
Below.
go. Yeah, it's crazy.
Sounds like a game for nerds. Freaking
Really
nerds.
I'm excited because the second one is a 4-player co-op. So
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. That is cool.
Yeah. The first one was only 2.
yeah, so
Player
this
co-op.
one's 4-player. So I'll probably just jump in with randoms that know what they're doing. They can do all the reading for me. I just have to
You can just get piggybacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
we did
think
with
that-
Bloodborne.
I think the problem still exists, though.
Bullshit.
You
I
lazy,
rock that
lazy,
game.
uneducated mother.
I'm telling you guys hate me, and I think it's because I'm white. You guys need to
Yeah.
chill.
We're all white too.
Oh,
Hey, I
my
did a
bad.
23andMe.
You're not white, Portuguese.
I did a
very
23andMe,
white.
and I can confirm that I am also white.
You are not. Actually, you're so white. You are really white.
Yeah.
I think we're all pretty white.
We're all very white. All right, listen, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Jason, Jeff, Moose, where can folks find you if they want to come listen to your show?
We are live on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. It goes up Thursday mornings at 7. It's on all podcast services. You can
They're just looking
email
for
the show.
Nerds Gone Platinum.
Nerds Gone Platinum.
Mhm.
You can
Boom.
email the show at nerdsgoneplatinum@gmail.com. You could tweet us at NG_platinum, or you could call us at 929-333-5762.
Are you
Is it a-
serious?
Is it a
Yeah,
sex
phone
hotline?
number.
Leave
Yeah.
a voicemail.
Yeah, we
Is
got
it-
a phone number.
Is it a sex hotline or?
I was gonna say, can I get a date?
It could be.
Wow. That is pretty fantastic. That is really cool. All right. So, folks, make sure you go check out Nerds Gone Platinum for all things Sony. And I'm sure I've heard them venture into other topics as well. So go check them
Daniel,
out.
I turned the lights down, set the mood, baby.
All right. So we're all gonna hop off this call, and Daniel and Derek are gonna stay connected for a little bit.
Shirts coming
We
on.
don't need to call a hotline. We don't need to call.
All right. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll talk to you guys
Thanks,
later.
guys. Thanks
Have
for
a good
coming
one.
on.
Thanks for having us.
Christmas.
Peace.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having us.
Who is your daddy?
I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
It won't be
I
close.
do listen to every single episode, but I do thank the Lord for 30-second skip ahead every time you guys start going to talk about football.
Jeff, that hurts.
Hey, do you also like how when we're done, Derek then tells the listeners to skip ahead if they don't want to hear about college football? That's the best part. When we're all done, he's like, by the way, sorry guys, if you want to go ahead and skip ahead, you could skip what we just
I think actually this year we didn't even talk about college football that much.
not much.
Well, thank God for that.
Shut up, Daniel.